Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Monday, October 18th. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. The Indiana game is in 5 days. The game against Michigan in 40 days. We've been talking a lot about this year's Ohio State team on the show over the last few days, but today we're going to be talking a little recruiting. The Buckeyes could be on the verge of landing a commitment from a top 100 defensive player in the class of 2022. My guest today is BuckeyeScoop's Sunshine State insider, Dominique Smith. He has been all over this story on our Ask the Insiders board for quite a while now. Dom, thanks for joining me.
What's going on, Bishop Orr? It's good to see you again, man. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I'm always looking for an excuse to have you on. I saw your post on Friday. I was like, I'm gonna have a Dom on Monday. I can't wait. But Before we get to that recruit, I did want to touch just briefly on the current state of college football across the state of Florida. The state is it's not great. It is not, strictly speaking, what you'd want if you were a fan of one of those Florida schools. This week is the first time since November of 2011 no teams from the state of Florida are in the AP Top 25. Go back to like the mid 90s when everyone's telling you that Florida State is the next great rivalry that's going to be the number one rivalry for the rest of time, and explain that to yourself and just watch your face go, what? So the Gators just lost to LSU, who then in turn announced that they were firing their coach. The Seminoles are a disaster. Miami's a mess. UCS just got blasted by back to the Stone Age by Cincinnati. So, Dom, is this just a weird year? Is this like a legitimate cause for concern for these programs and like the whole state of Florida right now? Like, what's going on down there?
For half the state, it is a cause of concern. For the other half, it's just an anomaly. So let's go to the big two. Surprise of all the teams you named, and I don't know if FSU had a bye this week or not. I think FSU is going to be just fine because there are two guys that are coming in that can really change the program. If you have not seen Travis Hunter, who we wish a speedy recovery, Bill talks about underwear Olympics. He's a gold medalist in that. He's a gold medalist with pads on. This dude is a freak. Don't know where he's going to play. He can play receiver. I think that's where he will end up. He can play corner as well. That dude is a game changer that will start the moment he thinks about touching down on campus. I know there's been, Kirby Smart's hot on his trails. I still think he sticks to with FSU. AJ Duffy's from California now at IMG. I think that he's going to be solid with FSU as well. A very talented quarterback. And I think that FSU, they'll be trending in the right direction. I think it may take another year or two, but you will see progress because there's something different about this team. I don't know what it is, but you look at the results. I don't know. Maybe it's just they care a little bit more, but there is something different. UCF, new coaching staff, and they have been hammered, man, with injuries, and they're dealing with Josh Heupel and what's left over from them. If you watch that Tennessee game, it's just, oh my gosh. Please do not throw stuff in the stands at the shoe if things don't go your way. But let's hope and pray we don't get there. But yeah, it was a little bit of a mess that he inherited because of recruiting and lack thereof, if you will. Got a lot of dudes from the transfer portal, but man, they are hampered with injuries. And he's just trying to kind of put Band-Aids on stuff. And then you run into Luke Fickell's fighting you Bearcats. That was expected in a sense. Let's go to the other side. A friend of mine, a kid that I went to school with, he tweeted out something funny. He said, "It's nice that all the Florida schools decided to be bad together this year." And that's seemingly what it is. I can't tell you what's going on at Miami, man. I can't tell you. I would say go watch Coach Kyle Hayes. Because he kind of breaks it down. It's bad down there. It's bad. And they have tons of talent. You can't explain what's going on in Gainesville. Like, it's like you lose to LSU and their coach gets fired for beating you. Like, I don't understand it. USF, I don't know. I guess, we have Florida A&M, Division I AA, that's balling out. FIU, I guess they're doing okay. They lost to Charlotte recently. FAU and the Fighting Willie Taggarts, they seem to be doing pretty good. So I just don't know, man. I don't know. But it's, like I said, the ones that I have concerns about are Florida and Miami. With Florida, anytime that the quarterback runs like double-digit numbers in terms of total carries more than the running backs, and you have 6 running backs, two or three of them are 5 stars, that's interesting to me. So I don't know. UCF, FSU, I think there's a little bit more hope, especially with UCF because they have a really good class coming in. And but everybody else, FSU, I'm just gonna say yeah. They'll be a little better, but I can't answer for the rest of them, man. It's something.
Boy, over-reliance on the quarterback run for a former Urban Meyer coordinator in a big game. Now I've heard everything. You've got all these teams kind of struggling, and they're either in transition. I mean, you got a couple new coaches or new-ish coaches. You got Manny Diaz maybe on the way out. You got Dan Mullen. Maybe there's gonna be a conversation there about him in the next 6 to 18 months. What kind of impact have those struggles had on the opportunity for other schools to come into the state of Florida and pull out talent? Like, obviously, when Florida and Florida State and Miami all have it cooking, it's harder to pull those Florida kids out of Florida when they're struggling. Just like when USC is struggling, it's easier to go out there and steal a Chris Olave or a Wyatt Davis. Or when Texas is struggling, you can go in there and pull a Jeff Okuda or a J.K. Dobbins or a Garrett Wilson. What kind of impact have those struggles had in the opportunity for other schools to now come into Florida and pull talent out of there?
It has an impact. It has an impact. I don't think as much as like maybe a UCF. I still think, and here's the thing, and this is why I believe FSU is going to be okay, because you look at Mike Norvell, he stood up to the podium, and for somebody who had only won one game, because I'm pretty sure after you watched the Notre Dame game, you thought, FSU might be back.
Mm-hmm.
Great story with Mackenzie Milton. I went to UCF, I'm rooting for him, and then you lose to Jacksonville State. And so, which is still bizarre to me, but, I guess what I'm trying to say is at least Norvell, from what I saw and what I believe some recruits saw, now they have started suffering some losses. I don't think any too big. Like I said, if they keep Travis Hunter, they'll be fine. But we have a plan. There is a culture shift. This is what you can see. FSU actually went on the road and beat North Carolina. Now, you can call North Carolina overrated. Well, if you look at the preseason rankings, Tom, I think you were the one that tweeted out how bad they stink. Preseason rankings or whatever that is, you can see why. But for schools, for example, Miami, I don't know what the plan is. So here's the thing. Shamar Stewart, for example. Shamar Stewart, a lot of people, myself included, believe, and it still might be possible, that he's going to stay at home. Miami's struggling, so guess who comes calling? Kirby Smart, Jimbo Fisher. Larry Johnson's still calling. He's supposed to be up there later on this month, if I'm not mistaken, and stuff like that. So you give interest. And so if you can always think, if you can have some people from Florida, specifically up north, Alabama, Georgia, that's still the South. That's a hop, skip, and a jump on the plane if you can. That's a longer drive. But yeah, if you can't see the vision, then yeah, you start to wonder, okay, should I, stay close to home, but stay close to home in the South rather than the state of Florida? Or is it time to make that move? Because, they're producing this. So let me take a look. So I don't think it's as much wins and losses. It's if there is a clear-cut vision. At UCF, there is a clear-cut vision. Like I said, you're not going to, worry about, even though they're getting some better names, some big names, they have a really talented recruiting staff out there. But there's a vision. This is our first year. Everybody's hurt. I didn't recruit any of these kids. FSU, Norvell, he addressed it. This is what we're doing. And you can start to see the steps that they're taking because it doesn't look as bad. Miami, they showed some fight, yesterday and stuff like that. Florida, they laid a goose egg and stuff like that. And Florida, is now you have to start questioning. But it's if there is no vision, There's a verse in the Bible that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And so if you substitute people with recruitment, then that's kind of what you have. So I believe the schools that can sell a vision, but they can go out there and say, here, look at the steps that we're taking towards it. I think they'll be okay. But anyone else that's just you struggling to find your identity, it makes it easier because Alabama's going to come down and get some kids. Ohio State's going to come down and get some kids. Now, what people aren't realizing, James Franklin has quietly swept in the state of Florida the last couple of cycles, and he's gotten some kids. The Kalen, I don't want to disrespect his name, but their big running back from the state of Florida. They got a kid, Cam Miller, from Jacksonville Trinity Christian, who's very talented. You open up the doors. Texas, Oklahoma, different teams like that. So, win, don't have to worry about it. Lose, okay. Lose with no vision, floodgates are open.
One of the people who the floodgates may be open for is a top 100 player in the class of 2022, Kenyatta Jackson. He's a defensive lineman out of Chaminade Madonna Prep. That is the same school as OSU commit Ryan Turner. Now, a friend of mine covers high school football down there. He sent me a picture of Jackson's helmet from last Friday's game, and he has Ohio State and Oklahoma stickers on the back of there. I was talking to you about this beforehand. You're like, oh, I know what that's about. So you can explain what that's about. But, he's supposed to be announcing his decision later this week. So how likely is it that he joins Ohio State's class when he does make that announcement?
So let's start with the decal. So I went out to I went out to Seminole High School early on in October. Well, the first day of October. And I noticed that. I was like, oh my gosh. But from the angle that I was standing at, all I saw was Oklahoma. I'm like, and I looked at Ryan Turner. Ryan Turner had the Ohio State decal on. I was like, oh, and then, you always have to see the full picture. And so I saw both decals on it. Basically, from what I understand, it's just a matter of if you're committed, you put the decal on, or, you're, considering some schools, then, they go between the decal. So as far as the likelihood of Kenyatta Jackson, I hope so. Momentum seems to be trending in the right direction. Ohio State has done an incredible job in this recruitment. So has Oklahoma. I have to give them their props. They've really gone after him. Ohio State, there is, definitely an opportunity to play early. Kenyatta Jackson's the real deal, man. Kenyatta Jackson Jr., he's the real deal. Seeing him up close, legit 6'6", legit 235, but he plays like he's 260. And he has a toughness about him that is just needed, and I think a work ethic that's going to take him to the next level. So my personal hope is that Tuesday at 2:00, Ohio State has some good news. If you've been looking around the recruit sphere, obviously we here at BuckeyeScoop, we don't have crystal balls. We don't have any of that stuff, but it's been out there, that it seems to be trending towards the right direction. I know they've been up there. They're supposed to, I believe, go up there. Date's still pending, but we're going to hope. We hope for the best, man. We definitely hope for the best. It's a great family, great kid, and he would be a great addition to this Ohio State squad, and a great defensive addition as well.
As a guy who's playing at 230, I assume the answer is that he's going to be rushing off the edge, but I'll let you say that for sure. And then, assuming he does commit, he would be the first defensive lineman in this 2022 class for Ohio State. So where does Jackson fit along the defensive line if he does become a Buckeye? And then how do you see the rest of the defensive line class potentially finishing out for OSU?
I don't. You look at 235, I wouldn't really pay too much attention to that right now, because that's not that's 235 right now. You got to wait. Coach Mick's going to get a hold of him. Coach Johnson's going to get a hold of him. He's going to be in a college weight plan. He's going to bulk up fast. I think he fits in perfectly because, like I said, the one thing that impressed me was he's 6'6", 235, but he's very athletic. He made a play at the end of the third quarter. He made 2 consecutive plays. He forced 2 fumbles. The first one was on the option. The second one, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was the quarterback or the running back. They were running to the outside, and he got his long arm on him and threw him down and forced the ball out. And Chaminade ended up taking the ball down the field to win that game, to score what would end up being the go-ahead touchdown. So his athleticism on the defensive line, I think in that rotation, you got Tyler Friday. He's going to come back. Obviously, Jay Tuimoloau, if I mistake that, I truly apologize.
Tuimoloau.
Okay.
We just got corrected on that recently. We had been all saying it wrong. So yes, JT Tuimoloau.
So yes, him. And I did hear it was J Tuimoloau. Well, yeah. So we're gonna call him JT. My bad, man. Sincerely didn't mean to disrespect your name like that. Jack Sawyer, obviously coming off the edge. Darian Henry Young, but Camonte Hamilton had his first sack. Moving tight end. So I think he can be a key piece. But I think Junior fits in perfectly. I think he brings a great balance of athleticism and length. You can keep him in. And you talk about the RPO, the thing Ohio State struggles with. Well, what's one thing that can help that? What if you can deflect passes and stuff like that? So you have a 6'6" guy with a long wingspan, that can affect the QB's vision. He has great depth off the edge. And so even if he's not, what was Chase Young notorious for? Strip sack. Not calling him Chase Young by any means if he commits to Ohio State, but there are certain tools that he has that will make him a successful defensive end if he chooses Ohio State. And I think that he can get early playing time. And to answer your other question about, what the defensive line outlook looks like, it's tricky. Because there's certain dominoes, and I feel like, people are kind of watching. We talk about Anai White, talk about Amari Bohr, and we talk about, obviously, there's Stewart and Jones, and I'm missing one, Tom. Help me out.
Caden Curry?
Caden Curry.
Yeah.
Yes, my bad, Caden. Caden is a Nick Bosa kind of build, 6'4", 265. Now, when I throw out these players, please don't think I'm calling him Nick Bosa or any of the Bosa, but his frame is that where he can be a legit outside, just power rusher with quickness and great moves and just can destroy the tackles, or he can slide inside to the 3 technique and stuff like that. So it just depends on, how he frames out. But yeah, I like Curry in the class. Obviously nothing's official, but he's very high on Ohio State. Our insiders have done a great job. Mark Givler and Bill, I call him Bill Cash Money Green. They've done an incredible job covering this. And I take their word, for and how they're feeling. Obviously, they're going to have to fend off, the Alabamas, the Clemsons of the world. But I think he fits perfectly in what Ohio State wants to do. Anai White is just a matter of a 4-3 or a 3-4. I feel like if he's a 4-3, Larry Johnson could utilize him. And, I mean, just think about it. You can potentially have, starting guys, Jack Sawyer and, JTT, and then, you can mix and match, and then second team guys. It doesn't get any better because you can have potentially, Curry, Jackson, White, and then a Bohr. I think a Bohr, he, people have, mixed feelings about his game. I think he has a skill set that can be developed, and I think he could be a pretty solid, productive defensive end. Larry Johnson's the master at this. He's been doing it for a while. So I think there's some dominoes that have to fall. I have a like I said, based on certain things I know, and then obviously the things that our insiders report, I don't know which dominoes. Well, we're going to see Tuesday to see if that domino will fall for Ohio State. But I think regardless of those guys, it's going to be a great defensive end class, man. I think they're going to come in. I think they're going to have a great impact right away, and I think they're going to provide plenty of depth for what Ohio State wants to do up front.
All right, and before I let you go, one last question. this is someone you're talking to soon. You haven't talked to him yet, but Derrick LeBlanc, he's a member of the class of 2023, top 50 prospect there. He's someone who I think made multiple visits to Ohio State over the summer, because I feel like he was someone we saw at camp a couple times, and it was like, so he's probably not coming up here just recreationally for, multiple times on trips on his own dime to come to Columbus, Ohio. There's probably a legitimate interest there. I have a question, and I guess you could take it two ways. So where do you see him playing at the next level? So I guess I mean that both in terms of which programs do you think he potentially could fit in at the next level? And also, where on the field do you think he could fit in at the next level?
So I want to say he visited Ohio State 3 times.
I think it was either 2 or 3. It was like, again, I think he went really?
Camp. Yeah, I think he went to camp, and then he went to the barbecue.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I tweeted out his highlights. Please go see them, because they played Dr. Phillips, and he showed why. He has tremendous quickness, and you can tell that he has improved this game. He is a legit prospect on the edge. I personally think he's a 3 technique who can play defensive end. It just, like I said, I feel like his frame is good enough where he can put on weight and he could destroy. Like, I don't know if he can bring that, just the highlights that I saw to the 3 technique, nobody's blocking him. But I do think that he could still be a defensive end as well. I think, like I said, Caden Curry, he's that kind of Caden Curry type to me. He can be a fantastic defensive end, and if not, he can slide inside, and he can do what Draymond Jones did, and people like that. Adolphus Washington, just that athleticism, that power. There's the tools that Larry Johnson, teaches the Rushman. I think he has it. As far as school is, you see, with these 2023 kids, I don't like to make predictions too early, but from his own mouth, he loves Ohio State. It's hard to not see them as the leader, but in the class of 2023, we still have a year and some change till signing day. Anything can happen and stuff like that. I do know he loves Ohio State. I know there's going to be a lot of schools, still hot on his trail. I think he will be a great addition to the class if he chooses to join the class. I'm looking forward to seeing his team. I'll be covering that game, Osceola High School versus West Orange, for the district championship game. And so there's going to be a lot of talent on that field and stuff like that. And like I said, I just kind of based on things I've seen on social media that he has said, in different Q&As and stuff like that. Ohio State right now, this is based from the last time things that I've seen. And like I said, when I talked to him, hopefully we'll get a better feel. Like I said, Ohio State, probably number 1 right now. And so we will see. And here's the thing. I think he's smart in just taking his time. Like I said, over a year till National Signing Day. Don't need to rush, your decision. Fantastic player. And so any school that gets him is going to get a gem. Let's just pray it's Ohio State and hope it's Ohio State.
Well, you can find that interview when Dom does that interview with Derrick LeBlanc. You'll be able to find that on our Ask the Insiders board at BuckeyeScoop.com. That is where Dom releases his weekly 2 Piece in a Biscuit recruiting column, which is
coming out Tuesday at 2:30.
Tuesdays at 2:30. I knew it was Tuesday.
Just this Tuesday.
This Tuesday at 2:30. All right. So this Tuesday at 2:30 on our Ask the Insiders board, BuckeyeScoop.com. It is always great insight, especially around Florida recruiting, but also some fun food tips in there. Like it is a fun column. It is one that our members just absolutely love. There's just great feedback on it every week. And the only way to read it is to become a member of BuckeyeScoop.com. Dom is one of our many insiders covering recruiting, covering the team, covering X's and O's, covering all the different angles of Ohio State football that that you love. And it's all in one spot at BuckeyeScoop.com. You can also find all of our podcasts, including this one, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, you name it, we're there. The best way to find those is to search Buckeye Scoop. That'll get you all of our shows all in one spot. And then you can subscribe right there. And you can also leave us a 5-star rating and review, which is something we do genuinely appreciate, because that gets figured into the algorithms. And some computer somewhere decides this is a podcast that's gotten a bunch of reviews recently that have been good. We're going to show this to more people, and it helps new folks find those shows, which we do truly, truly appreciate. So if you enjoy these shows, take a second, leave us a 5-star review and rating, and that would help us out a good bit. And if in return, we'll do you a little favor. We'll let you know you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You subscribe to your YouTube channel, and then you get all these podcasts on YouTube. Every time we post a new live interview with players and coaches, we'll be talking to Ryan Day and the Buckeyes Tuesday around lunchtime, another group of players on Wednesday night, and then we'll have our live pregame show from Bloomington on Friday night, and then another pregame show on Saturday morning from the stadium, and then a postgame show after the game as well. There is a ton that's going to be going on this week. Big week for the Buckeyes, heading to Bloomington for a chance to maybe get a little revenge on Indiana for some of the saltiness that Indiana had last year. So should be a fun week around Columbus and then in Bloomington. And the best place to enjoy it all is at BuckeyeScoop.com and YouTube.com/BuckeyeScoop. If you're on YouTube, just hit that little bell that'll subscribe you to our channel and get notified every time we post a new video, so you never miss a thing. How easy is that? Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.